What are you looking at, huh?
And now I have to walk away and pretend I'm going back, just so that I look like I'm looking for the Oscar prize. Okay, I'll be right back. Hello everybody! Welcome back to my channel. Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. I'm not aggressive. I'm not. It's just... Welcome to another video where I'll be discussing with you some of my experiences. If you hear strange sounds, then it's my chair, but I mentioned that in the last video, which is here by the way. So don't forget to check it out after you watch this one. I found out that someone texted me during my inactive period of time, and they asked about how film school is like and whether I should go to film school or not and whether it's beneficial or not. So I've decided I would record a video about that because I think it's more complex than just answering in a couple of words. So I'll start with why I went to a film school and not some normal other school. Let's just say I was a YouTuber when I was about 10 years old, and I got recognized for recording Let's Plays from Star Stable Online. Just a real quick note, I got recognized in the game, not in real life, thank God. And so years went by and I started creating vlogs and sketches. I started getting haters because I was 12 years old. And then I deleted my channel and then I created this one, but I wasn't thinking at that time that I would record videos in English or anything like that. My English back then was terrible, even though I translated for a Finnish TV once, an interview, which was completely random, and every time I think about it I just want to kill myself. And so as I was creating videos on this channel, I realized it might be something that I would like to do further. Like, I really enjoyed editing, I really enjoyed directing short films that hopefully no one will ever see again. I just really enjoyed the process of filmmaking, even though it was not filmmaking on the bigger picture. It was just me, a child, playing with a camera around and playing with programs and stuff. So when I was in the 6th grade of elementary school, I already knew that I would like to become a filmmaker. And I found a school that was real far from my home. So now I study about 400 kilometers far from home, but I knew that it was really worth it. Like, I genuinely knew that I wanted to become a filmmaker. It was the only thing in my life I would like to do. Like, anything that was similar to film or that was related to film. And so I went to this school, and the reason you've clicked on this video is whether you should go to a film school or not. There are obviously some pros and cons. I've currently finished the 3rd grade of the school, and so I think I have something to talk about and to review really the studies. And overall, I would go there again, definitely, yes. But if you have a clear vision of what you want to do with film, it can bring you down a lot. Just like any other art school, it all depends on what teachers you meet, what people you meet, and what classmates you have, because in film and filmmaking in general and filmmaking schools, it all depends on the crew. And if the crew is not working, then the film is not gonna work. It's not gonna be a good film if your crew is not working. What you have to realize before you go to a film school or before you even decide to become a filmmaker is that if anybody from the crew members is not working 100%, or if there are some problems between you and the other members, it's going to appear in the film for the viewer. And this is something I think you really realize when you start learning how to do film and everything about it, because the harsh truth is that you have to cooperate and that you will meet in your life, sorry for swearing, and that in most cases you cannot do film alone. So I think it is real great to study film, because it's better to realize that before you start filmmaking, you know. And also you meet teachers who give you experience and their point of views, which can be related to another bad thing about film schools, which is that, as I mentioned in the previous video, your teachers can have subjective opinions on your works. And what some teachers encourage, other teachers can not appreciate much. And then it becomes really confusing when you're finishing a project at the end of the year, or we have to create film every 6 months. And so it becomes really confusing about what we can do and what we cannot do. Another thing I see that demotivated many of my classmates and some other grades as well. As much personal as your works can be, you will get the criticism. And I think this can be real hard to handle because, again, film is very subjective, and for example, in my works, what some teachers told me was completely wrong and unacceptable, others encouraged. And as I talked about classmates and cooperating and working in crews, depending on which film school you choose, you will have to work with those people. For example, in our school, it's like we have classes and you have to work with the people in the class. If that doesn't fit, then you're fucked, basically. Because you're from the same grade and you have to cooperate, which I think is a great experience. Because in real life and in real filmmaking, you don't always cooperate with people you like. But there's this thing with classmates that you see each other as friends. And then once you start filmmaking together, you stop respecting yourself because you're friends, you know. And some people have trouble, I'm talking in general, some people have trouble turning off this friend mode and turning it into work mode. And therefore, since you have to cooperate with each other, some misunderstandings appear, because what you criticize them for, they take personally, which is not something you want them to do, but it's just, I guess, natural, sort of. Well, just keep in mind that not many of your classmates will be able to distance from it, probably. It might depend on the culture and on your country as well, on the mindsets of people, but this is my experience, so be prepared for hate. Another con of filmmaking school is that some of my classmates, as I mentioned before, found out that they don't want to do film as their studies continued. And so some of them don't want to work on films, and it's real hard to take responsibility for them if they don't want to work 100% are not dedicated to the work. And if I should get to the pros, then definitely it would be learning how to do filmmaking. I'm not saying that film school is covering it all, but it definitely gives you a point of view on how things work, depending on which film school you study again. Because I feel like there are hundreds of film schools all around the world, but not many of them are actually quality film schools. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I'm not talking about a specific field in the filmmaking industry, like directing or editing or sound or something, because what I study are like 4 years of the general knowledge about film. So it also depends if you choose a school that only focuses on one niche, sort of, like one field of the filmmaking, or if you choose to study everything. Another pro is that you definitely get the feedback you need in your beginnings, which I really appreciate, but again, it can be quite subjective and it depends on the teachers and stuff, so it's really about the school that you study again. But I personally think that even if you chose the worst film school in the world, it would still give you some point of view on filmmaking and how working on a film in a team looks like. So if you're 100% sure you don't want to do anything but film in your life, I highly recommend it. Just be prepared that there will be some rough times in your journey and that you'll likely give up on film, because as I mentioned before, most of my classmates are not sure whether they want to do it or not. Even though we were all sure that we wanted to be directors in the first grade, I think like 6 people from 30 are actually sure that they want to stay in the filmmaking industry, just to give you the picture. But even if you didn't choose filmmaking after studying it, you could still do whatever you want, because I think that filmmaking is not only about filmmaking. You could work in the TV industry or become a YouTuber. But I seriously want to do film. Or you could just shoot wedding videos, which you do not need film school for, but they will look much better than the average ones. What else can I say? I think another pro is that you will get to the community of filmmakers, and at least at our school it works like we don't really care about who is from which grade. For example, I know many cinematographers from the grades below me, and they are much more experienced than, no offense, my classmates. And one last pro, it really forced me to watch films I would never watch, like studying a film school, which has helped me to learn more about film, which is again about the community, because if you spend time around filmmakers and hear them talking about films, they just force you to do something about it if you've never seen that film, right? So I think it is great for making contacts with people. If you have a decent film school, they should also support you with creating your films and sending them to festivals, which is really nice, I think. But again, that depends on the school you study. So you should definitely do some research before you hop to a film school without any knowledge. And if I should speak about the general thing, I think, and from my favorite director, David Fincher, as he says, you can learn film by yourself and you do not need film school for it. But again, it's about the contacts, it's about the new friends you meet, it's about opportunities the school gives you, and generally the world of filmmakers is very different from any other art, I would say, or from any other schools and businesses. So I would never change my decision of going to film school in the first place. If I should summarize the cons and the pros, I think there would be more pros than cons, because you can always take something from the cons and convert them to pros. For example, criticism, which I think is overall good. It's good to have, feedback for your films, for your scripts, or whatever you want to do, or even film directing and communicating with people. It's real good. And since these people, like your teachers, work in the industry for years, if you're on a quality film school, I think the feedback, even though it's subjective depending on the teacher and it varies from teacher to teacher, it can teach you a lot. And also you can hear some stories of the experienced ones where they got from 0 to 100, so I'd really recommend it. I think I said everything I wanted to say. If you have any questions about filmmaking or about a film school, just write your questions down below. You can also leave a comment, even though you don't have any questions. Hit the like button so that it gets to more people, and subscribe if you're new. It's almost midnight, so I gotta go. Bye!